Hey everyone, welcome to the next session for the 2022 SOFA Summit. Really excited to introduce one of our current clients here at Memphis Investment Properties and Reading Company, someone that we've been working with for many years now. His name is Blake Rumley. Blake, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, Mark. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences, with everyone here at the SOFA Summit.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's just get started here. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your story and your background?
Sure. Yeah. I'm originally from upstate New York, Rochester. Go Bills. Um, Went to University of Buffalo and have since then moved to the New York City area. So I've been down here for about 11 years or so. Met my wife, my now wife, immediately after moving to Manhattan. And now we've just kind of slowly drifted out to the New Jersey suburbs. So we're about a half hour outside New York City. We have a 4 and a 2-year-old. Um, my full-time career, I sell medical devices. So I sell GI endoscopy devices. So we treat and diagnose different cancers and diseases of the gastrointestinal tract. So it's a nice, rewarding job. So I've been doing medical device sales for about 15 years now. Um, and then in my limited free time with the kids, uh, we like to travel. They're at an age where we can travel a little bit easier now. They just did a nice long car ride, so that opens up the world of possibilities. And I also do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and just recently started teaching as well, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu 1 day a week, and have started to bring my son, my 4-year-old son. So that's been a fun time.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like you're a very busy man. I love it. I love it. So why did you decide to invest in real estate in the beginning?
Always wanted a way to uh, build wealth outside of my career. Watched my parents work really hard growing up, but never really had um, anything to show for it. And they'll be the first ones to admit that. Um, so I wanted to find a way to kind of supplement my income and build wealth and generational wealth for my family. And driving around so much for my job, it was easy to listen to podcasts and YouTube videos and kind of educate myself. Zig Ziglar talks about automobile university, he called it,
Mm.
um, back in the day with the CDs driving around or tapes. And nowadays we could just plug in a podcast. So I listen to a lot of bigger pockets, which is how I found you guys originally. And just kind of listening to a lot of different real estate stories and um, different podcasts and YouTube channels and audiobooks that kind of really helped to educate myself a couple years prior to jumping in real estate. Um, Always been obsessed with the early retirement. So would love to retire early at some point using real estate, or at least have that option to do what we want as a family when we want, not be relying on this W-2 income. Um, it was an easy sell to my wife. My wife's grandparents did real estate, and Mark, you were really helpful in that in our first couple initial calls, just kind of talking about the Memphis market and what you guys do. But my wife's grandparents had done real estate for years, so it was a little bit easier sell for her.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, you hit a lot of good points there. Number one, when it comes to real estate, education is key, since it is this alternative asset class, and that's the whole reason why we do the SOFA Summit here. And I completely agree. I remember when Zig Ziglar said it was the automobile university, and it's a great way, to utilize your time, right? As opposed to just listening to music, you can actually learn a skill. And then that skill can create, like you said, the generational wealth, something that you can actually pass down, right? It's an asset that you can give to your children. And then also to be able to create more of that financial independence so you can retire early and spend more time with your children. Ultimately, that's just one of the exciting, fun parts of real estate as a whole. Uh,
Absolutely. it kind of helps me sleep better at night knowing that we have hard assets as well with real estate. It's a tangible thing. It's not a 401k sitting there in the metaverse or wherever it is. It's tangible and we can touch and feel it if we want to.
Yeah, 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 definitely. And so, speaking of the tangible assets, they're located here in the Memphis market. What do you like about Memphis from a real estate perspective?
I think the biggest thing for me is the moderate weather. So knowing that we don't have to worry about coming from Western New York. I had a lot of big snowstorms. When we first thought about real estate, I thought it might make sense to go back to Rochester, where I'm from. It's kind of uh, a similar median price to Memphis, but the biggest deterrent was the harsh winters and not having a team there. So Memphis, with the moderate weather, you don't have to worry about tropical storms and hurricanes and tornadoes coming through. That's a big thing for me. Again, helps me sleep better at night. I like the low cost of entry. So living outside New York City, it just doesn't make sense to invest in real estate around here. Um, so the price points for the Memphis market is definitely a benefit for us. Um, and I like that it's a predictable, steady real estate market. I know you've had some great appreciation over the last couple of years, which is a nice plus, but just historically, that nice steady trend of increasing. I also love the fact that there's good, stable jobs in Memphis for good, hardworking people. With I think it's the second largest cargo airport in the world next to Hong Kong.
Yeah, we
Is
actually
that still accurate?
we just surpassed, and now we're number one, which is
Nice.
exciting. So, but yeah, you're exactly correct.
All right. And then FedEx and Amazon and St. Jude's, I know, just recently built a larger campus. So good news is lots of jobs. Don't like that a lot of sick children are filling that hospital. I wish it was slow, but it's good to know that there's a lot of good steady jobs. Um, and one thing that I've learned to like about the Memphis market is the tenants bringing their own appliances. So I didn't realize that when we bought our first property with you guys, and that was just an added bonus of one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, yeah, really good points. I mean, when here we will provide the dishwasher and the Ventahood, and that's in our B and C class areas, and the tenants bring everything else, which is it blew my mind when I originally moved here from Colorado. I thought something had to be wrong. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
why would anyone want to rent that property? Is a question I always asked. And it's the market, it's the norm. And then when you think about it, you say, okay, we could still rent properties. And then if that tenant brings their own fridge and that fridge breaks, well, they're not calling the management company, right? And they're gonna fix it themselves. So it's all about reducing expenses, and that's just one less thing you have to worry about, which is
Absolutely.
very well said. So then, we've been working for a couple of years now. How's your experience been with MIP and Reedy and Company Property Management?
It's been great. It's nothing but positive. Um, Mark, you took the time with us from the very beginning. I believe we bought our first property with you in May of 2020. So kind of right in the heart of COVID, which seemed a little crazy at the time, but you kind of you made us feel a lot more comfortable and led me to some good research and let us pull the trigger. So you've been reliable and trustworthy, and the whole team that everyone we've talked to at Reading Company and MIP, it's been phenomenal. What I like the most is that I can trust the team being hundreds of miles away. I've never stepped foot in Memphis. So knowing that you guys are the boots on the ground and can get a question answered and fix something if something goes wrong right away. I love that. Um, so what I really like about Reading Company too is they have it down to a science. So and you guys are always working on ways to improve the processes. So just having everything stored in your warehouse ready to go for the next rehab. So you don't have to wait on supplies, and with the supply chain issues that are going on, it's nice to know that everything's taken care of. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Reedy team that does the rehab are also the people that manage the property, so they get the calls if something goes wrong.
Yeah,
If that's correct.
that's exactly correct. We just keep that in-house there. So the same people that are renovating the houses on the front end are also the same people that would help do the maintenance and the turnovers, on the back end. And that's all in-house as well, which just keeps things efficient at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, I would love to meet you guys at some point. Get to Memphis, get some barbecue, and a couple other things I love is Jennifer sends these bullet points of all the next steps. So once we reserve a property, it keeps me nice and organized. I'm not very smart and a little disorganized, so it's nice to have that all bullet point. Um, and a really important thing for us is that the uh, Reedy has a good reputation with the tenants. So they've done it for years. I think you have over 2,000 properties that you manage with Reedy, if I'm correct.
Yeah, on the
Um,
single family side, that's exactly correct.
yeah, and I know there's a long waiting list of people trying to get into Reedy properties. So they take care of the tenant, which is really important. I never want to um, become a quote unquote slumlord, especially being far away. So it's nice to know that the tenants are being taken care of.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the tenants are the most important part, right? Because if you have happy tenants, well, then they'll take care of the property, they'll stay, they'll pay rent on time, and then that equals, great cash flow, for you as the actual investor. So just all we do is listen to the tenants, and sometimes the tenants get mad because we try to collect rent. So that's always funny when they get mad at us for doing our jobs, but it's also the ones, making sure that we can, respond to the maintenance calls, and making sure that it's also nice that we're here in person. So if they want to actually talk to a real human being, they can come into our office, which is always nice. But yeah, very well said. So why don't you talk a little bit about your portfolio? How many doors are you up to now, and what are kind of the plans for the future?
Sure. Yeah, we're up to three properties, one B plus and a B minus and a C plus. So kind of diversified. I wanted to diversify a little bit on the class of neighborhoods and the cash flow, especially just as a base. COVID kind of woke me up a little bit that um, my income's based on GI procedures, GI endoscopy procedures, and those were those shrunk by 90% in March and April of COVID around here. So
Um,
my income tanked. So I wanted a little bit of an extra cushion just in case. But as we move forward, we'd like to look a little bit more into the B plus and A minus type properties with you guys, and hopefully we can get one by the end of the year here. It's been really fun watching you guys grow. I remember a couple years ago, um, just kind of going back to the trust in you all. Um, the properties would come out, and we'd have about 5 seconds to bid on one, and I would put it in and bid on it. If you get it, you get it. But just goes to show you just how trustworthy that I believe in all the properties and the team that you guys have. Um, so yeah, look forward to building that portfolio. Hopefully, maxing out the our primary home is under my wife and I, so we get 9 properties, I think, under Fannie and Freddie. So hopefully, trying to max that out and continue to grow the portfolio.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, and yeah, during our original process was just first come first serve for the properties, and you click reserve, and whoever got it first is the one that got the house, and it just got so crazy at a certain point, people would reserve it in a couple of minutes and not get the house. So now we kind of took a step back, and we do it the more traditional way that you'll see on the actual a market of the MLS or the commercial market, where everyone gets to, place just their offer, and then essentially, we'll pick the best offer. And that's one of the something that we were talking a little bit, about before, where you're thinking about doing a 1031 exchange, right, with a different property, and things that we can help out with, as well. Also doing a cash out refinance, things for one of the Memphis properties that you already bought, which is also really exciting. So some higher level advanced strategies, that we can help consult with, and more importantly, get you in contact with the best representatives to ask any questions about it, to make sure to see if it's a good fit for you, or not. So
Sure.
excited
Yeah,
to.
it's been really fun to watch the real estate market in general, but especially in Memphis. Looking at the pro formas from the original property that we bought 2.5 years ago, and the um, estimated value is already over what the 10-year mark had said. I know you guys are nice and conservative with those pro formas, and it's nice to exceed those expectations.
Yeah, that's really incredible. So, wrapping up here, for the new investor, do you have any advice for them, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is define your why. So, why do you want to invest in real estate? That was important for us, my wife and I, to sit down and figure that out. I think that really helps when you do hit some roadblocks along the way. There's bound to be some hiccups here and there in the long journey of real estate, especially if it's a buy and hold property. Um, if you hold it for many years, you're going to have some tenant turnover, a couple things that need to be fixed here and there. So just understanding your why and why you're investing in real estate makes um, those hiccups a lot easier to deal with. Um, I would recommend to analyze, but don't overanalyze. So don't get stuck in the overanalyzation mode. So I was kind of lucky that we didn't have the funds to invest in real estate right away. So I was able to do some research and education myself for 2 years or so prior, and then once we got the funds, jump right in. But if you have the funds, take the time to research and talk to you guys. Mark, you were great from the very beginning, um, and but take action and jump right in. I'd also recommend to network with other investors to just bounce questions off each other, to help each other. That's always important. And then lastly, I would say to define your criteria. So your investing criteria. So figure out what you want to invest in. That might take some time. My strategy's changed a little bit over the couple of years, but when you know your criteria, you can jump on an opportunity when it's available.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well said. I mean, I really recommend, I like where you said at the beginning, you didn't have the capital, but you were actually focusing on education for those first couple of years. And one thing that we really recommend is to say, even in that phase where put your mindset or the cap on is, if I had the funds today, which property would I move forward with and why, or why not? And then that helps you build that criteria. So then when you do have the funds and the capital and you are ready to invest, you don't get stuck in that analysis paralysis, type phase. And that's also something that, we would love to be able to assist with as well, in terms of, helping build that buy box or that criteria. Because there is, a little difference between the A's, the B's, the C's. I mean, there's also, that's just what we have here in Memphis. There's also D as in dog class neighborhoods. There's what we call dollar sign neighborhoods that are negative cash flow. Like there's other, neighborhoods and types of asset classes, but we can kind of go over all the pros and cons of all of them, at any time. But hey, I really appreciate you, Blake. We love the relationship. It's been, really, it's been wonderful to have been, working together, since COVID for these last couple of years. And it's already, it just means the world, that you're, happy and growing the portfolio, with us here. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. If you can just get a couple of properties every single year for the long term, it helps you hit your why and create that generational wealth, like we always talk about.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. It's been fun. Watched the last couple Sofa Summits. It's fun to be on the other side of things, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate your partnership and the team that you all have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, to everyone out there on the Sova Summit, hope you found some words of wisdom from Blake, and hang tight. We'll be here for our next session here soon. Thanks, guys.